Hey guys, and welcome back to another Super Metal Brothers review. I am Super Metal Brother Matt.
And I'm Super Metal Brother Dane.
We are back from a hiatus. I actually have found myself trying out the whole touring another country thing with my bands as I destruct. That went okay, but I'm back now, Danny, and much to your chagrin, we're here ripping apart bands that we know little about.
Yes, we already reviewed one of Tool's latest song releases, Invincible, sorry. I think we wish we were Invisible.
Yeah.
We had a lot of hate after that, which is, we expected it. We didn't like it too much, and Tool fans loved it, which is fine, you can.
Yep.
But now we decided to give the whole album a shot.
Yeah.
And you gotta give credit to Tool, and this album is dominating. Like, it's #1 around the world. It's knocked Taylor Swift off her high perch, which is, hey, give credit, that's amazing as itself. So,
absolutely. The #1 highest earning musician at the moment, Taylor Swift, gets out, according to Forbes magazine anyway. So we are talking about the album Fear Inoculum. This is the band Tool. Before we get into the actual review, we'll give a little bit of a talk about who Tool are and about where this album came from. This album was 13 years in the making. It started around apparently 2006, being the 2010 or 10,000 Days album. And there was mention that at the time there was actually Tool might break up. Maynard James Keating, the front man, actually disclosed that he would put more effort into his band Pussifier, but in 2008 it was announced that to MTV, obviously, the only way you would announce to the world, hey, coming back in the music form was to talk to a label that was, or an industry that was about music. So it's always happening right away, apparently, but the problems arose in 2013 where two undisclosed members had a tragic scooter accident, Danny. Tragic, yeah.
Actually, to be fair about that MTV thing, 12 years ago, 13 years ago in 2008, they were still playing music.
Oh, so fair enough.
Give credit to Tool, and yeah, back then it was still a kind of music station.
It was also mentioned around the time that Danny Carey as well had a motorcycle accident, which meant he's fractured a couple of his ribs. That was very sad. 2014 saw legal issues arise that were from 2007. There was slow writing around 2015 where 20 different song ideas were in the mix. 2016 would see them deeper in the writing process right until 2017. And eventually 2018, Maynard Keating would have the right mixes in his hand from the band, ready for him to put lyrics to. So this was, in fact, a massive wait. Now, the only thing that got this much hype was the Duke Nukem game, which took that much time that people were like, surely this game can't be as good as what people think, and it wasn't. There was no way it could be, but here's 13 years later, and Tool fans would let you know that this album is. But what do the non-Tool fans think, Danny? What do the people think who are coming into this band kind of fresh or not knowing about it? Well, that was us. You know, I do own one of their albums, Lateralis, and I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought it was fine. It wasn't the breaking experience that a lot of Tool fans have with their music. But Danny, what is your experience of Tool before we go into this album?
Yeah, I saw them live, but I've never owned any of their CDs. And it wasn't my style of music. So to see them live, I did not enjoy it because it's just, if you haven't heard the songs before, it's very mundane and droll and melancholic, and I wasn't really, they're not the things I look for in the band. But I heard the song Schism. I thought, oh, that's a cool song. They're actually pretty decent. And I thought the whole album and all the songs were like that, but not really. That was not really rocky song.
So there you are, two new guys going into the mix. And like you've seen, obviously, the people here who've come to our site know we feel like the song Invincible. But what about the rest of the album? Well, Danny, I'd like to say that there is some high points. Before we get into some of the lower points for this album, there are some good tracks, particularly one. And that would come towards the end, Danny. We are talking about Zevenpest. It's Seven. It's Seven Empest. So we're gonna call it that. All right. It's probably easily the best track off the album. It's for a 15-minute track. It really kind of hits home, and it hits fairly well consistently through the whole track. There's no typical self-indulgent, 4-minute looped acoustic section, which are on other tracks. It just gets straight into it. It's a rockin' time. It's a very well constructed song. And it kicks, basically from 1 minute 25 onwards, you've got a decent track on your hands.
Yeah, I agree. So this is the most engaging song I found because it had like a kind of consistent beat and tempo to it. Yeah. I'm not saying it's the same beat, same tempo, because people want to come at me and say, oh, it's different time signature. Yeah, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it was engaging and it was like always dragging you pulling you along and taking you along.
Even like the 8-minute mark, you get some of that Michael Romeo kind of hammer on stuff as well. Even that thing like with the Dreamster palm muted sections as well. Like that's the thing, is that this band has that appeal that a lot of people can enjoy, from the prog metal to prog rock. And I guess this track here does well to kind of bring all those fans together and do it with the Tools twist, with their hypnotic trance vocals, their rhythmical sections as well. Yeah. So it's not a bad track then. What about the rest of the album though?
Yeah, the one thing I would have had picked on was the about 10 minutes 30. They're kind of building up to go heavier, but they didn't. They just come back again to their rocking.
Yeah.
That happens every now and then in their songs. I guess it's a taste thing. I prefer it if it went bit, because they're building it up all the time. You feel, you can build, get to the heavy crescendoed, but they don't. They go back again. Like, that's fine. That's their style, but preferably I would have liked it a bit heavier.
I think non-Tool fans would enjoy the ending for a couple of these tracks, like Fear Inoculum as well. It's not a bad track as well. It has a great ending to it, very heavy. There's a few of them that have like those big double kick sections, really pronouncing at the end as well, with Numa. I guess that's the one track too.
Yeah.
There are some things to take away with it. There's some very interesting movements in songs like Fear Inoculum, where you got this. It feels like there's like a bar of 2 bars of 3/4 and a bar of 2/4, but there's probably a university major that was telling me I'm wrong, and why I should love Tool more than I do.
Yeah.
It's and that's the thing. The guys do bring a certain musicianship to this, especially Danny Carey. He's kind of a freak. They even gave him a track to solo on, which is that chocolate chip trip, whatever it was.
But the solo was over like some weird electrical noise build-up thing, and they don't fit together. Like, I know they want to be experimental and stuff, but a weird electrical wailing, siren-y, eerie tone with a tribal-sounding drum rhythm, that they don't go together. You just can't put things together and say it's genius, because they don't fit.
So what are those other things you liked about the album before we get into the things we hate? Because there are those things. What else is like? I like the Man Eyes approaches in songs like track 2 again. He does a lot of different things with Numa. I thought that was pretty interesting. I thought the track Invincible was actually better than what we heard live. With the proper mixing and stuff, it actually is probably one of the better tracks off this album as well.
But it goes with the album. I think when we heard the people from the crowd filming it, then we didn't give it a shot. But when you actually hear it in the context of the album, that has a similar tone and feel to it. So it was a bit of a nicer song when you heard it from the album. So I'll agree. We've kind of made
it's more of a emotive connection there. I think with the guitars, and when the guitars drop off and the bass comes in, and it's a good like to and fro. It's a slow tease for a song, but it really gets into it. It's another nice track off the album as well. There are long tracks. I mean, most of these tracks are over 10 minutes long, for better or worse. It's I guess the guys did kind of stretch themselves and probably at times maybe overthought some of these songs and what they could do with it, and sometimes you could argue they probably underthought it maybe, because there are times where you have a guitar line that goes for 4 minutes and it really doesn't do anything. It just kind of stays with you, and it's like, it's a cool guitar lick, but most people would be unapologetic with that,
Or they'll repeat a passage, and she's like, for the sake of repeating it, they might change a bit of a drum feel or guitar feel, slightly changes it, but it feels like it's done just to make the song longer. It wasn't really needed. You could have left that out and it wouldn't have affected the song at all. But
it's fine. Sometimes I feel some of these songs don't actually gel well together. It feels like because they were written so long and far between, it just didn't feel like in total this whole thing had a cohesive nature about it. There were those instrumentals, for instance, now I guess we're going into it. So the negative things, that the instrumentals did really not much apart from give you a escape away from a 13-minute track for the 2-minute track, which for some reason was more nonsensical than the 15-minute tracks.
Again, they didn't fit to nothing. They weren't even similar sounds or tones or feelings that I could hear from the album in those short songs. It was kind of like a loading screen. So again, not really needed. I
feel for myself, this is a Tool album for Tool fans. This definitely isn't one to get the people outside in. And I think Maynard even admitted it when he said that it would take a couple of listens for people to really get into it. And I think what he was trying to say is that, it's just, they put so much together, and it really needs you to sit there and listen to it, because no one can concentrate that long for that.
It's hard work.
To do it. So of course you have to listen to things, because you're trailing off. Just imagine one friend telling you a story, and each story goes 15 minutes long. You're going to be thinking about soup at least 3 times before the first story is even over.
Yes, they do well. Like, there's especially the first, 3 of the first 4 tracks, ignoring that little interlude small song. That's how they're very engaging. They do the soft, slow build up, and then they get a bit rocky, and they build up, and they crescendo, and they start again. So it keeps you engaged for those first 3 of the first 4 songs. They do it quite well, and I actually was a bit surprised on how interested I was in the song. And then what they do well as well is at the ending of those first 3 or 4 songs, they like kind of build it, make it rock a bit heavier. And I was saying to you, like kind of when you watch those TV shows, where the show is pretty fine and standard, then the last 3 minutes they add in the twist. Like, what's going on with this?
Yeah.
I got to hear the next. I got to hear the next song. And you play the next song. I feel like that's what they do from those like initial tracks. And I'm not saying it's bad, just that it keeps you engaged and keeps you hooked and think, oh, what's next? But then they start slow again on the next track. And
like this, the track Descending, you have this 80s synth where it sounds like Stranger Things when you go into the other word. It feels like you're kind of descending in that sense, right? It's got those chilling feels about it. But it has a feel like the song Invincible for me, where it's like a lot of this Tool feel is about looping a certain section and getting to you to be like locked in that moment, only to be like overwhelmed with some awesome drumming and then the endings.
Yeah.
But it's a very tough demand for a listener to sit there 15 minutes and engage it. And I guess in today's climate, however, the fans have really responded and told the industry that that's what they want to hear, which I'm so divided. Like, there's nothing about this album that really got me super excited with listening to it, but because the fans and I've demanded so much that rock now is beating pop again, it's actually, well, I'll have to concede, like, that's even though it's not for me, I'm guessing it is for other people out there. And at the time, I can agree. Like, some of these musicians are world class. Danny Carey is one of the best drummers going around in the rock heavy metal world.
Yeah.
And what these guys do is incorporate different time signatures and all that. And that's the thing. The Tool really is about a feeling. And for me, it is, like you said before, it's macabre. It's depressing, and it's a little. Just a little slow, and just it kind of turns at its own pace. But maybe that's the world we live in, and maybe in 10 years I'll love Tool.
Yeah, I mean, give credit to the Tool fans. They actually are buying the album.
Yeah,
like here in Australia, it's on backorder. You can't people order it and they still haven't got it yet. It's been out for a couple of weeks, and I don't know when it's coming in. So hey, at least Tool fans are buying it and supporting their band.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Full credit to them.
Yeah,
I got another theory about how Tool fans kind of see Tool as kind of very religious and kind of like cultish. And I reckon that's also due to Maynard's delivery.
Yeah.
So if you see how Maynard sings and how his phrase, it's almost like very church-like, like a priest, like, in. He has that very slow but methodical way of singing. It's very engaging. I have a feeling that kind of puts people in a trance, and mixing with that tribal drumming, I think it really speaks to you oh, this is like an extra experience here, because it kind of reminds you of being in church type thing.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I can't believe it. And in a world where songs generally in the pop industry are no more than 3 minutes, it's an incredibly simple song structure and all that. The one thing that would top with that is something that's so anti it, where pop's all about being happy and rah. This is the anti-pop, and it's completely dominating. And for that, its existence it bewilders me at the same time. I just can't get on board with it, and this album isn't helping me out. There are songs from Tool that do get me thinking about, well, maybe this is a band that potentially has it. This album isn't for me at all. It's completely just long-winded. It's a bit hard for me to connect with. And aside from some of the musicianship, it's the overall feeling leaves me in a place of just okay. And so that's just my thing. But at the same time, man, I'm good on you fans for buying their stuff, man, and backing a horse. Can't, even though I don't get the band, I sure as hell get that rock and pop. Completely at the moment are so far away from each other, and this is a refreshing change to see.
Yeah, no, true. I mean, I'm saying with you. I guess our favorite kind of album or top album so far this year is Flesh God's album. So I think you can see where we're kind of aligned to with. A bit more dynamic, a bit heavier, a bit more driving guitars, driving drums.
Yeah,
and this
absolutely.
is a bit too slow paced for myself to get into. I didn't mind it. I was listening to the background while I was doing stuff. And I thought it's actually not too bad. Just to chill out to this album. But I mean, I can't take it like these Tool fans do. If you see some comments on I'm not sure if you guys are taking the piss now or if you literally are that into Tool. And if you are, that's awesome to find a band you're into. But some of these comments are a bit out there. I mean, they're saying it's life changing. It's is it? Have you really changed your life? Or are you just saying it's life changing?
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna get orange juice this morning, but then I heard Tool and I got myself an apple juice.
Because if you're gonna make those comments, they have to be true. You just can't say because you feel like that's what you need.
Maynard even knows the fans are too hardcore. They gotta loosen up. But at the same time, if that's what gets you waiting for the next 2 albums 13 years later, then man, it's like Metallica. but you're gonna buy it anyway, right? So
Yeah, that'd probably
You
be
know.
true as well. So yeah, I thought it was
So overall, we're giving this out of 10, Danny.
I'm giving it 6.5.
Yeah, I will. I mean, I was playing between a 6 and a 7 for this one here, so we're gonna go 6.5 as well, just because it's. Look, I get it. You know, the musicianship's there. They're still trying their self at a genre that is mathematical. It's a little rhythmical. It's a little bit of everything. And yeah, and they're definitely pushing the mainstream into taking risks. Even if I think other bands already are doing some of the stuff already in the underground quite well and maybe better. It's arguable.
Yeah, I mean, as a Tool fan, if you're really honest, I'm a Tool fan, of course. If you're a Tool fan, waiting 13 years for this album, I'm not sure if that was worth 13 years.
Yeah.
I remember when Black Sabbath came out with Dio, and they did like Heaven and what was that album? Bible Black, Devil You Know, whatever it is that, and that was a shit album. Like, and we waited like 20 years for that album. That was terrible.
Yeah,
that one good song, but Bible Black was a good song. That's it. So Tool fans, I don't know if you're really honest with yourself.
Yeah.
You maybe not. Maybe you think this is what you expected and it's great, but I don't know. For someone who's trying to get into Tool, I wouldn't buy the album.
Yeah, so there's our review, guys, and the words of Tool.
And in the words of Tool, immunity, long, overdue, continuing, I exhale you. I don't know, is that the phrasing?
It doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, what did you guys think of Tool? I'm sure leave us a comment or a thumbs down in the video. It comes with the territory, you know.
Probably.
We know we stand with Tool, and Tool are more than happy to make their wine yards in our backyard.
Yeah,
and
I think
sleep with our women and whatever.
that comes down to here, Adelaide in Australia, and I think has a winery here, or he takes like winemaking.
You know what? I
courses
probably
in
bought
Adelaide.
more bottles of his wine than I bought his albums, and I'm sure he, you know.
Plus, also like on a side note, people like there's a bit of a thing where Tool fans like to smoke joints and take drugs, and it kind of helps to enjoy it.
What in the rock industry?
Yeah, I know, but I don't feel like you should use that for an excuse to make an album sound cooler. Like you shouldn't need drugs to like escape the world.
Yeah.
With music's supposed to be there, so you don't need the drugs.
Yeah,
if you need
that's it.
drugs to make music sound better, it's like, well, maybe the album's not as good as you think it is. So that's just like a side note. I mean, everybody has their own different things in life and what they consider to be fine and fair, but I feel like the music for me is escaping reality. I don't want to enhance it or crossbreed it.
So enjoy. Anyway, there you go, guys. Thank you guys and enjoy us being back. We'll do some more reviews coming up in the next couple of weeks. But until then, I am Super Metal Brother Matt.
And I'm Super My Brother Daniel.
We are the Super Metal Brothers. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next episode.